Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to do something different. You guys usually come and listen to Dan and I, so I brought friends today. So you have somebody different to listen to. One of the questions Dan and I get, how are you guys as a SRES, the Seniors Real Estate Specialist, different from just a real estate ad? And it's really our network. It's our connections and the people we have to offer during the journey, whatever comes up. So I brought a couple friends to talk, and we're gonna kind of jump on the tail end today. The topic is, don't act like an ostrich if you're planning on moving forward. That ostrich with his head in the sand. So we're hoping we can give you information. This is really informal. Actually, there were supposed to be 4 of us today, and 1 person couldn't come. So ask questions. We got plenty of time for questions. Just interact. Pretend we're sitting at your dining room table or on the couch with you today. And just make this really interactive, because we would just love to give you as much information. Each of us are planning to speak for about 10 or 15 minutes on a topic that is probably the most popular either question or scenario in our business. But that doesn't mean if you have another question you can't bring it up. So feel free to do that. We're going to start this off today with Eric Holseth. Eric and Dee is a husband-wife team. How long have we been working together, Eric? 5 years?
Yeah, 5, yeah.
Something like that? Yeah. We met Eric at an estate sale, and he has done many estate sales for our clients. And we love him. We love him and Dee, and they've become good friends. So Eric, come on up and talk about estate sales.
All right, each one of you, the one thing that you want to do is you want to learn about the estate sale company that you are going to hire. You don't just, call one person. Always try to call at least 2 or 3 companies to come in and see what each one has to offer, because we're all different in the estate sale business. We all offer something different. The most important thing that I tell my clients when I first come in is don't throw anything away. People have a habit of wanting to get rid of all their junk that they think is junk. Well, it might be somebody else's treasure. So, and smalls bring in a lot of money in a sale. So don't, if it's got advertising on it, anything like that, don't throw it away. If it's vintage, old, antique, don't throw it away. The stuff that you can get rid of mostly is, if you find papers laying around it, you've got a bill sitting somewhere or something like that, that's fine, that's okay. Interview your person in person. Don't interview anybody over the phone. There are 2 major ideas that you have to have in your head when you're trying to get a hold of an estate sale company. It's number 1, are they bonded with the state of Minnesota? Make sure that they have a bond. That way, if they do your sale and they decide to sconce with your profits, you can go after their bond, get the money from the bond company, and then the bond company comes back after. Because not everybody in the business is totally up and up these days, so that's one of the things you got to look for. And then C2, if they have insurance, their own insurance that they take with them. That way, if somebody gets hurt, somebody falls and breaks a leg or breaks an ankle or something, you won't be responsible for it. I carry my own liability insurance, so if something like that happens, I'll take care of it for you. That way you don't have to worry about it in your stuff here. And another thing I ask is, a lot of times what happens when I do come in, I can look everything over, and I can give you kind of a guesstimate of what your sale is going to bring. Because the times are changing every month to every year. What's good to sell, what's not good to sell. And so I can come in and kind of give you a pinpoint estimate between, I can come in and say, you've got about $4,000 to $8,000 worth of stuff here. I can let you know that ahead of time. So that way you get some idea in your head, okay, is this sale going to be worth it or not? Some companies hire me to come in. They don't have a lot, but they want to get rid of it all. So they more or less, they're paying me to do an estate sale to get rid of it, and so they don't have to deal with it. My company also, and not all companies offer this, at the end of a sale there is always stuff left. There's always something that doesn't sell. So I offer a clean out, is what I call it. And then what I can do is I come in and I try to donate as much as I can for you, but you can't donate everything these days. You know, all the centers now are starting to get really fussy about what you can bring in. So you normally have to bring in a roll-off. So there's an extra charge on that, just so you know that. And it's usually between $2,000 or $2,500 is what I charge, because roll-offs are getting more and more expensive to bring in.
What's that term mean, roll-off?
Roll-off is one of those big, you ever seen those big long garbage bins that are, you know, sitting at construction sites or sitting on the street in front of somebody's house that they're throwing all their garbage in? That's what a roll-off is. That's what they are. Yeah, dumpster. Yeah. But they call them a roll-off. And one thing I ask is, if you have me come in and you walk me around and you say, this is for sale, this is for sale, this is for sale, and typically a lot of times I don't get in for at least 2 to 3 weeks or maybe even a month before we set a date on the sale and I come in and do it, and then all of a sudden I find this is missing, this is missing, this is missing. Because I have kind of like a photographic memory when it comes to merchandise. I know what the client has told me is in the sale, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's gone. And I have to explain to the client, well, you know, if you have me come in, you tell me all this is for sale, and then you take half of it out because you changed your mind, your amount that I possibly might be able to make for you is going to go down. And then you may not have enough stuff in there, good stuff. You got to have good stuff, because you're competing most weekends against at least 20 other sales in a weekend. So you got to have the right good stuff to bring in. One nice thing too about my company, which is old as new, is I have a lot of followers. I have a good group of followers because I keep my prices down. There's a lot of companies out there now they're pricing everything at retail value. We do not price at retail value. We price at market value, what we think it's going to sell at. And I have a friend of mine, Tim, who does my pricing. He's been doing it for 35 years. He's one of the best ones in the business. And he also works for a few other companies because they know how good he is. But that's something to get in your head too, because a lot of people think, okay, this is worth, you know, I've seen it sell on eBay for $300, you know. Well, you can't go by eBay because you don't know how long it's been sitting there. A lot of people who put stuff on eBay, they put a ridiculous price on there hoping somebody will come along and buy it at that price. So that's something else that I tell my clients, don't get it in your head that what you're going to see as far as pricing goes. There are some things that are good, high quality items to sell that you get a good price out of. And that, of course, would be any kind of famous artwork, high-end furniture, antique furniture. There are some pieces that still sell good, but even that's down. Your glassware, that's gone down really far. You know, a lot of people own china. You probably all own about 2 sets of china. That doesn't sell like it. And 10 years ago, you could put a top price on it and fly out the door. Now, it's like nobody wants it. So there are certain items that, even when I go in and I look around, if I see it, I don't even pay attention to it, because I know it's not gonna, if I sell it, it's a bonus. You know, it's not what I'm thinking about, you know, how much I'm gonna make off for your sale.
What about sterling silver?
Sterling silver sells good. And I'll tell you right now, most sterling silver sells for meltdown value. It does not sell for what the pattern, let's see, because there's so many different patterns of silverware sterling out there. There are a few that are really good that you can get a good price out of that's better than melting it down. But typically you get a meltdown value. You can have let's say a 68-piece sterling set. That can bring you almost $1,500 just for that alone. And then what else sells good is if you got a bunch of jewelry that you don't wear anymore. If it's gold, you know, of course your gold value out there is high.
Are you talking about estate jewelry?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you got costume jewelry, it sells. But if you got, you know, a lot of people will have broken clasps on a gold chain, you know, that they don't wear anymore. Don't throw it away, because we can get somebody to come in and buy that at meltdown value, and you know, that goes towards your estate sale also. Taxes, you don't have to pay any taxes on your estate sale profit that you make. As long as we do it at the house, you don't have to pay taxes, because we don't have to pay sale tax either, that way. So that's a bonus for you there. There are some people who, they want to take everything and put it into a warehouse and have a sale. Well, then those are the kind of people that have to charge a sale tax. When I do a sale, I take either cash or charges, and I don't charge you. There's a fee that I go with. I have Square that I use, and they charge me for each fee, for each card. But I eat that. It's part of my business, and it doesn't cost you anything for me to come out and take a look at what you have.
Eric, what about online sales? Do you have to pay taxes on those?
Online sales, I don't do.
Okay.
That's one
But
thing.
if somebody did one, would they have to pay taxes?
That I don't believe you have to have tax on.
Okay.
On online. There are some companies out there that, because of the COVID, that's all they do now. They do online sales. So, and it's working, and I won't lie, it's working out for some of them. Some of them seem, and when I come in and do a sale also, because of the COVID, I typically will not do a sale if somebody's living in the house. If you're not living in the house, that's the best way to do it, because when we run a sale, it's typically on a Saturday, Sunday, 9 to 3. You may have 400 or 500 people walk through your house. And if you're still living there, and it's something else I tell my clients, during the sale, try not to be there during the sale. Because it's harder for you guys to watch your stuff walk out the door than it is for somebody like me to sell it, because I don't have any emotions on what it is. I do treat your property as if it was my property though. I don't just come in and do a sale and, oh look, I made my $3,000, let's say that I charge a straight fee of, and then I don't care about the rest. No, I try to get as much as I can out of a sale for my clients. Yes.
So are you saying, for instance, if you sold your home, you've got a 30-day close, you want them to be
It's
totally out of the home?
Yeah, I'd want you to be out of the house, yeah, for me to do the sale. Because with you in it, there's always, it always kind of, it's hard to do a setup, because when I do a setup in a house, I use every corner of a house, including the kitchens where you're usually cooking and eating, and some people, they'll have a big flat TV in a front room and they don't want it moved, and because they want to be able to come home and sit and watch it, and it just gets to be a real hassle for both of us, because then I usually have to call them, ask them, okay, are you awake? Can I come over and start my sale? Whereas usually what I do is I get a lockbox, I put it on a doorknob, and I get a key from the client. That way I can come and go as I please, because my hours always change, because there's sometimes where I have one sale after sale after sale, so I'm doing setups, and I'm the one who does all my setups for my company. That way I get to know exactly what's there.
How do you safeguard against shoplifting?
I usually have enough people that are working the sale, and they come in one door and they leave out the same door. And I set up my register right there, so I keep an eye on. I don't allow people to, especially, I hate to say it, women to bring in big bags, because it's too easy to drop something in a bag, and I've had it happen to me. As hard as it is, as much security as you may have, there's always seems to be somebody who gets away with something. I don't know how they do it, but they do it.
Eric, how much lead time do you need to set up a sale and to have it executed and clean out?
I need at least 2 weeks before the sale starts. That's my goal, to get in there and get everything straightened out. Take pictures. I advertise on estatesales.net, and there I'm a gold member, so I can put as many pictures as I possibly can on the web page, and that's exactly what I do, because the more pictures you show, the more people look at it and say, oh yeah, look, he's got this. And I don't do it all at one time either. When I take pictures, I do it as I go along and set up, and I put the stuff out. That way I put a little bit on one, a little bit on maybe a couple, 2 or 3 days later. And what that does, it notifies all the people who look at estatesales.net that look, something has changed for this sale, you're gonna have to take a look at it again. And that way they stay interested. You know, if you put everything on, let's say on a Monday morning when you start the setup, and you don't put anything on in those 2 weeks, well, in those 2 weeks, everybody else is setting up and putting pictures on, and they may just forget about your sale. This way, I keep them interested, you know, all the way to the start of my sale. As far as furniture goes, the bigger it is, the harder it is to sell. So if you have,
Sofas and,
yeah, sofas, especially if they're sleeper sofas, people don't want to buy them because they have, whenever people buy stuff like that, they have to bring in their own help to carry it out of the house.
yeah.
You know, and
dining room
transport.
sets and that kind of thing.
But if you have, you know, like if you have, you know, real nice furniture, even if it's new, it'll sell. You know, there are people out there who will come in and buy it. But if you have like an old, especially like an old antique buffet, you've seen them, those don't sell.
They don't.
Your wood tables with the wood chairs, the old style, a lot of those are getting harder to sell because the younger generation doesn't want any of it. You know, they're happy with their computers and their cell phones, and that's, you know, if that's all they got in their house, that's all they want. You know, if they want a piece of furniture, they'll go to IKEA and buy it. So it's getting harder and harder to sell that stuff, but there is still a market out there for it. Any other questions? Yes.
Do you charge a percentage, or do you have a?
I have a straight fee, which is $3,000, or a percentage, 30%, whichever is greater. So if the sale goes over $10,000, then my 30% would kick in. And then I pay out in 2 days after the sale is over. You know, I sale in on a Sunday, and I pay out by Wednesday. And then also when you do it with me, you get a list of everything that sells $15 or higher on both days, Saturday and Sunday. So you know exactly what, you know, your big high items sold for. You know, that way it's better for you to keep track of what there is. Any other questions?
Where do you generally do your sales?
I have to do them in the house.
No, I mean
Oh.
geographically.
Oh, geographically, I do them all over.
Okay.
All over the Twin Cities.
All over.
Yeah. Mhm. The only place I don't do any sales now these days is in Minneapolis because of all the trouble they're having. It's just too risky. I won't risk my fellow employees for doing a sale.
Are there any place in the metro that has more than other places?
Yeah, a lot of your Bloomington, Richfield, Minnetonka, Wayzata, places like that are probably the 4 best county or cities, you know, to do sales in. But as long as you're on the outskirts and you're around the Twin Cities itself, you're okay. I mean, you'll still get a lot of, you know, like up north, it's Columbia Heights, Fridley area, Blaine. You'll still get plenty of people coming. It's the further out sales that I do, you know, like Cambridge or North Branch or something like that. They're, you know, you have to advertise for that location, not so much for the Twin Cities, but for that location, because there's a lot of people that, you know, won't go that drive. I think it's too far.
What kinds of things do sell well?
Like I said, jewelry.
Yeah.
Jewelry sells real well.
Yeah.
Anything that has to do with sporting goods, anything that has to do with World War II items, any old vintage toys, any kind of marketing, anything that you received from somebody that, well, you know, you normally couldn't, maybe not be able to buy it off the market somewhere because a company was giving it away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what's in cereal boxes, there's toys that, stuff like that, just, everybody loves it. You know, any kind of oil, you know, anything that's got advertising like that stuff's hot on the market. Like I said, the most thing that's not the hottest on the market is China. Any kind of glassware, unless there's a lot of pottery out there still that sells, but then there's some that you see at every sale. So the market's been flooded with it, so you're not gonna get as much. You may sell it, but you're not gonna get as much. Your yarn and sewing, stuff like that, sewing machines, they sell really good. You know, your people are always looking for material, so that stuff sells good. Your clothes, if your clothes is old and vintage, it sells really good. There's a big market out there, especially if you have clothing from, let's say, the 60s, early 70s. There's, you know, when the gentlemen used to wear old pants that were plaid and, you know, all different, that stuff sells. It's just, it's ridiculous, but they sell now, so.
How about suits?
Suits, not so much as suits. Yep, an old picture, yeah, old pictures sell.
Really?
Yep, old photos. People love to buy them, even if it's not their family. People love to buy, you know how you've seen a lot of old vintage oval pictures? You know, those are the ones that people still love to sell. Like I said, the older, the better. Yeah. Yep, anything that's old is what's people, because I've done a lot of sales where, you know, everything in the house is new. You know, it's like all bought in the 20s. And they don't quite sell as much. You don't, you know, you sell, but you don't sell as much as.
What do you mean new bought in the 20s?
You know, like 2020, you know,
Oh, okay.
anything from, you know, nowadays, you know, that, you know. But there are people who do come in shop just plain for like all your cleaning supplies, and if you have extra, you know, boxes like Kleenex and stuff like that. Yeah, there's people that just don't come to the sales just to buy that. Because like I said, I keep my prices down. So, I don't sell liquor itself,
Yeah.
but I do sell decanters. You know, liquor that, and the decanters can have liquor in it, but I'm not selling it for the liquor, I'm selling it for the bottle itself. So that's the only way. And I can do firearms. I do firearms, and when I do firearms, you usually get top dollar for them, and I usually don't advertise them. I usually sell them to people I know. You know, so I know a lot of people that are in law enforcement, and those are the people I go to, you know, sell them to them, because that way I know they're not getting in the hands of the wrong people.
I've got original art, and I spent time this past summer looking it up on
Online?
online.
Mhm.
And so do you handle original art?
Yep, yeah. Yeah, the more original, the better. You know, you know, there's lithographs out there that sell still, you know, but if you have especially if it's an oil painting, yeah, that can bring you some good money.
Does it have to be appraised to?
I have a gentleman who comes in for me and will appraise it and tell me what it's worth.
You can look on auction sites and
Yeah.
things, so there's resources.
Yeah, but there again, you know, you're not gonna get retail value, you know, what they would sell it, let's say, in a studio somewhere. You're gonna, you know, you're just gonna get because most of the people who come to these sales are people who turn around and resell. So, you know, you can't, if you raise your prices too high in our business, you get known by all the customers, you know, that we don't want to go to his sale anymore because his prices are too high.
Well, I just don't want my family, if I'm incapacitated,
Mm-hmm.
to throw stuff.
Yeah, oh, yeah, tell them.
You know,
Yeah.
we're not into art and so forth, so that's.
No, that's why it's good to have me come in and take a look. And any other questions? All right,
Great, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
We use Eric, like I said, quite a bit, and actually when Dan and I talk, I have a story about Eric and one of the clients he helped us with, so that's just great. Our next speaker is Brad Christensen, and Brad has become a good friend of mine too. I also met him through the real estate business, and Dan and I are actually looking for a house, so we're using Brad. I trust him that much. He's a great guy. He loves seniors and veteran seniors. He just has a heart to help them. And when some of you may think, well, seniors really don't take out loans or mortgages, but Brad's going to talk to you about that because in some cases it works out really well. So come on up, Brad.
Thank you. Hello. My name is Brad Christensen. I'm a loan officer. The company I work for is called Illuminate Home Loans. We're local. My office is actually in Minneapolis. My wife and I live in Chanhassen. Like Mary mentioned, I'm a little more hands-on. So you see these commercials, push button, get mortgage. It seems really easy, but it's not really that easy. A lot of people like having a little more one-on-one contact, and that's where my business is. I work with my clients very closely. I give all my clients my cell phone number. I'm available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week, because not everybody is available during the day or evenings or weekends or whatever the case may be. So we do everything in-house. We process, underwrite, close, and fund our loans in-house. So I'm the only one working with my clients throughout the entire loan process, myself and my team. So a little bit differently than other companies, so you don't get shipped off to somebody in a different state or a different country or whatever the case may be. So that's who I am. I've been doing this 20 years and I love what I do. She mentioned veterans loans. That's one of my passions, working with seniors and veterans. It's a great benefit out there for the men and women who have and currently serve our country. I speak a lot of different VA events throughout Minnesota. I'm licensed in North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and then Florida and Arizona for the snowbirds. A lot of people have second homes or vacation homes or whatever the case may be. So a little bit about VA loans. Any veterans here at all? I mean, know any veterans? I'm sure we all have some veterans in the family or whatever. There's no other home loan program like that out there. It's 100% financing. Typically conventional loans, you have to put down 20% to avoid mortgage insurance. VA loans is backed by the VA, so no mortgage insurance is needed. Interest rates right now for like a 30-year fixed VA loan, probably looking at about 2.5%. Conventional financing, probably looking at about 2.75. So it's a great program out there. So if you do come across any veterans or any veterans in your family or neighbors, I'll let them ask them, have they used this benefit? A lot of veterans don't know about the benefit they've earned. As far as a lot of veterans, older senior veterans I come across, anytime a veteran, he or she has any service-connected disability rating of 70% or higher, their property taxes are exempt or very lowered. So a lot of times I'm working with a client, a senior, and doing their refinance, and I'll get their disability rating from the VA, and I'm like, okay, well, sir, man, why are you paying property taxes? Well, you have to pay property taxes. Well, you're 100% service-connected veteran. No, you don't. And I'll literally take that person, walk them through it, take them to the county, and I just save them, without even refinancing, save them a couple $100 a month. So that's a benefit a lot of veterans and people don't know about. Purchase market is very big right now. A lot of people are selling their homes for a premium. Maybe downsizing, maybe looking to buy a second home, a lake home, move down to Florida. So it's a great market for that. I foresee interest rates are going to stay low for a while, but eventually it'll go back up. Now, we've been kind of blessed recently. So I remember when my wife and I purchased our first home 20-some years ago in Eden Prairie, we were at 7.75%, FHA loan. Everyone's like, wow, that's a great rate. Then my mom, who's 86, mentions that back in the 80s, or during the Carter administration, the 70s, interest rates were, 18, 19%. Yeah, so it's all relative now. 2 years ago, I was closing loans at, 4% or 3.875, which is a fabulous rate. But now with this COVID and other things that have been going on in the last year and a half, 2 years, interest rates are that low. I have clients that their home is free and clear, and they want to do a cash out refinance, take some money out to invest it with their financial planner. You borrow money at 2.5%, and you're making 6, 7, 8, 9% on it in the market. Granted, the market, you can also lose it too, but I'm having a lot of clients working with their financial planners who are doing that as well. So, any questions? Yes, Mary.
So let's say I want to sell my home.
Yes.
And it's paid for.
Okay.
So I walk away with $200,000 or $300,000 in cash, right?
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I want to be a snowbird. Maybe I want a condo now or a townhouse now, downsize, and now I want to go to Florida or whatever.
Right.
And I'm thinking, I'm 64. Is anybody going to give me a loan?
Excellent question. So no, that'd be age discrimination. I did a loan for a client. Years ago. He was a Pearl Harbor survivor. He was in his 90s, and he asked me the same question. Well, who's going to give me a 30-year fix? I'm not going to live to be 120-some years old. And I said, well, sir, it's discrimination. It doesn't matter what age. Well, you have to be over, I believe, 18. Yeah, but no. So yeah, because age there's no. You can do a 30-year, or 20-year, 15-year, whatever the case. I have a lot of clients that will I'll run numbers from them and say your payment is X at a 30, it's Y at a 20-year fixed, and Z at a 15-year, to kind of give them an idea, where their payments are going to be, to make sure they're comfortable with that. A lot of times people, well, I want to pay off my home quick, I want to pay it off fast. I'm like, that's great. But what if your income changes? What if something happens? Are you comfortable with this 15-year fixed payment? Because obviously it's amortized over 180 months versus 360. These payments can be great higher. There's no prepayment penalty in the state of Minnesota. So if you win the lottery, or if you want to apply extra towards your principal every month, you certainly can. So sometimes maybe a 15-year, maybe a 30-year is not the best option. Maybe in the middle, a 20-year, and then make extra payments on your own and make that 50 or that 20 into a 15 or a 17-year. That way you're in control of your money. That's what my wife and I do. We like to travel in the wintertime and around the holidays. So we make the minimum monthly payments in the wintertime so we can have that excess money to have some fun. But in the summertime, we pay extra on our mortgage to bring down that principal and eventually hopefully pay our home off sometime. So excellent question. Thank you.
Does the insurance, or does a mortgage, whoever holds your mortgage, if you're older, like me, in the 60s or 70s, do they make you put some kind of an insurance policy on there because they know you're not living for another 30 years?
No.
They don't?
Correct. That'd be discrimination. Yes, correct.
So they don't?
Correct. So homeowners insurance, you have to have homeowners insurance in
Yeah.
your property if you have a mortgage and of course property
I'm
taxes.
thinking like a death insurance. Or
No, there's no, I've heard of policies you can get on your own. Let's say that I want to get an insurance, God forbid, I pass away, my wife still lives in the home, she'll have money to continue living in the home, but that would be something through your insurance provider or something that may have some programs out there, but no, that's not required for home financing, so, yeah. Well, a lot of lender servicers, like who you write your mortgage payment out to each month, ABC Bank, Wells Fargo, Chase, whatever the case, they'll have that program where you can do by monthly payments, and it will essentially knock several years off your mortgage. So yeah, that is available. You just have to be disciplined on when the payments come out, when you get paid, so balance it with your daily lifestyle and other expenses that you have. But people do take advantage of that. I on my own pay extra each when I can. So as far as financing, there's your primary home, it'd be considered your second home, a lake home, a home in Hawaii, Arizona, Florida, or wherever the case, and then a non-owner occupied home, which would be an investment property. So interest rates differ. Typically for your primary home and your secondary home, interest rates are about the same. Programs are about the same. Non-owner occupied investment properties, it's a lot more riskier loan recently because of COVID and no one paying rent and things like that. So interest rates can be quite a bit higher. You have to put more money down. As far as your question.
So your primary and secondary home interest rate should be about the same.
About the same, correct. But as far as your homestead, that'd be a question for the county auditor or treasurer to get and see what your property taxes would change. I don't think it would change dramatically that much nowadays. So, but every little bit counts. But that's something, and then you need to talk to, possibly if you're making, you're looking to keep a home here in Minnesota potentially, and then buy a home in Florida then,
right.
or? Gotcha. What's that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a financial planner?
Yes.
I would talk to him or her and see what the benefits are if homesteading in Florida, maybe you become a Florida resident as far as taxes.
Oh, that makes a huge helpful difference.
Yes. Taxes might be a little bit higher because you're going to say homestead the Florida property, but I wouldn't say that would be a huge difference.
Okay.
No, so that'd probably be the only difference. Now, if you're looking in Florida, hurricane insurance is expensive, sinkhole insurance is expensive. But also too, you're sun and ocean too, so you get nothing for free, Yeah, a lot of people do it. I just turned 51 last week, and I'll probably be heading to Florida in 20 years, so eventually someday. So
51.
yeah, I know.
Still young.
I know.
You barely reached middle age.
I know. I feel old though. Yes, ma'am.
Do you work with people that want to buy a condo, cooperative?
Co-ops. So co-op lending is a little difficult.
Yeah.
It is challenging. I've been doing this 20 years and I've never closed on a co-op loan. It depends on the co-op and what the rules and regulations are. Sometimes I think with co-ops, they may have a bank or a lender that they've worked with in the past or that they're approved with, but they are challenging because of there's been some issues or a lot of lenders don't like it because of the common grounds and the common areas and things like that. I know like some associations, townhome associations are part of lawsuits right now, or condo associations, and those can be difficult to lend to as well too, because there's a multi-million-dollar lawsuit because of roof damage from hail or the association's being sued or something like that. So yeah, that can be challenging, but I would check, I'm sure, with whoever that property is located, probably would have a bank or a credit union or something like that that may have a specific program for that. But I work with about 17 different banks, the Chase, Wells Fargo, Pacific Union, Mr. Cooper, banks like that. But I don't believe we have a lot of those products out there right now. Things have changed with COVID. They're starting to loosen up a little bit as far as products. Excellent question. So timeshare is a little bit different from the mortgage financing world. But yeah, timeshare, a lot of people want to get out of them because it sounded great, but then every year it's, I got dues for this, and I'm there for 1 week or 2 weeks out of the year. I've heard on WCCL there's some commercials where they can get you out of they work with you to get you out of the contract. But yeah, I've seen people, I've seen on the credit report, timeshares, and I've seen people that they said, I heck with it, I just quit paying it or whatever. Well, that really hurts your credit, so.
That's something you can't finance either, right? A timeshare.
No. Excellent. Any other questions? Well, I'll be around here for a little bit if anybody else has any questions. I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Brad. We were going to have Barb Hemmenberger. She's also somebody I ran into. She's a communication specialist, and she's the person I reach out to if I want to know the trends in the communities, what's going on, what's happening. COVID was huge. I would reach out to her too. She's been in the senior area, and she had an emergency today, so she couldn't come, which I feel really bad about. Dan and I are going to talk to you a little bit. Your comment about the china, that you can't get rid of the china, the kids don't want it. I had that problem too. Here's a solution for you. I've told you guys this before. My kids wouldn't take the china. They just, there's no way I'm parting from my china. So I told them, either they take the china or they get nothing else. And they were like, okay, I'll take the china. So it works, trust me. Tell them that. The homesteading question. So Dan and I own several rental properties which are not homesteaded. Years and years and years ago, that was very expensive. A lot of people couldn't afford to use a second home or a cabin or rentals or anything because it was so expensive. And which governor changed that?
Mr. Jesse Ventura.
Yes, Mr. Jesse Ventura, when he was in office, he took kind of that away. It is a little bit higher, but not a lot higher.
Okay.
And again, you can reach out to either the county or somebody. They'll let you know if you do one or the other. We just moved into one of our rental properties because we sold our home, and I'm going to homestead it. And in my case, it's only about $100 and some a year difference. But each house would be different, so check with your county.
I have a totally different kind of question, and so if this isn't something
Go
you want to
ahead.
deal with.
One of us will be able to answer it.
I think I'm like a number of people who are getting really nervous about buying a condo.
Okay.
And so what I'm interested in is, are there organizations or there are people who are helping you to have some of the same kinds of services that you would get from a condo, but in a regular home. I mean, the benefit of the condo theoretically is you don't have to do your lawn, you don't have to do the snow removal, you don't have to worry about, it's kind of turnkey when you leave and when you come back.
Everything's automatic, yeah.
So all of those kinds of things. Are there now services that are helping you to do those kinds of things?
So when you leave, it just gets done. The only thing, I don't know of an actual robust type thing that handles it all.
You go to Florida for 6 months.
Yeah,
and you leave the house.
What do you do?
Yeah.
So the only thing you really could, I mean, if you contracted out your shoveling or whatever, that would go no matter what. If it were summertime or whatever and you contracted out your lawn, that would keep going no matter what. Your garbage continually will get picked up, but you're not there, so do you need that? So you may want to cancel that, you know? I think you almost have to touch each one of those individually yourself.
What I'm thinking about is there maybe somebody that, well, either like yourself that would give you a checklist of all what you need to do in order to be sure that you're doing these kinds of things.
So for when you leave.
For when you leave, and also for what makes sense in terms of, well, just finding a good handyman, finding a good reliable lawn service, finding a good whatever. If something goes wrong and you're not going to be here, and you're going to have to have someone come fix the
Yes.
fix something while you're gone.
That is a perfect.
That's a whole different ballgame
It
than if you're
is.
here.
And that's a perfect question, because that's what I was going to talk about. That's what we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
So, you know, having people like Brad and Eric, they're part of our network, but the people you just talked about is part of our network. So when I started out and I said, what's the big deal about being a seniors real estate specialist? What's the big deal? I mean, the realtor's a realtor, right? And I think the big deal for seniors is, I talked about the journey. And the journey is different when you're retired or you're getting in your aging years, because we're no longer looking for the bigger house and the school district isn't so important to us anymore, but being a snowbird might be important to us now, or downsizing might be important to us now, or going into a community might be important to us now, or which is best, a condo or a townhouse. And there's a big difference, especially when you look at HOA fees, right? With Brad here, I was just thinking, you know, there's some people we see that sell a home and say they have $200,000 or $300,000 and they want to go into buy a condo, or they want to, you know, they just don't have quite enough money to get to where they want to go. Maybe they need a $100,000 loan or whatever. But they just think it's not in that pool of money they got from their house. So what if I just go into a community? Well, Brad, I'm going to put you on the spot here, and this is just ballpark. But in today's interest rate, and I know that varies on your credit score and whatnot, if somebody took a $100,000 mortgage out, think a high interest rate, what kind of payment are you looking at a month?
Principal and interest?
Principal and interest.
100,000? Probably under $500.
Right. So $500 maybe payment versus going into a community or going into independent living at $1,800 to $2,500. You know, weighing those things out. So that's what we do. So we have those trade peoples, we have those lawn services, we have those housekeepers, even though housekeepers we're finding right now are
Hard to find.
Hard to find. I don't know why, but they're hard to find.
Yep.
So we have those for you, and we're happy to give them. You don't have to buy a house. We're happy just to give you that service.
Right.
That's what an HR and seniors real estate specialist does. We have all that network for you. So we can give that to you, so talk to us, okay?
Just one more thing in regards to checking on when you're gone and things are happening at your house and you're down in Florida and you've got a place up here. My brother, when he was up here, their home in Florida, they had somebody that they paid, and a lot of the people in the association had a guy that would come by twice a month, walk through the house, make sure the windows were okay, the AC was running or what have you, make sure that it wasn't damaged, there's no flooding. He did that twice a month. They already paid an association, so that was all, the grounds were all taken care of. But, you know, they never know, you know, did somebody break a window, somebody try to break in, and it's now the heat is going right out the front door or the window or what have you. And it's a service, very inexpensive, and they're out there. I mean, they'll do that for
you know, as Dan's talking, you know how the wheels start turning? So the wheels are turning. There are property management companies out there.
Right.
They normally manage like for me, if I have a rental and I don't want to deal with it, you know what, if something breaks down, call the property manager company or whatever, whatever the case may be. They will do it for single family homes as well. And there's just a fee for it.
Yep.
There's some that are better than others, and I can help you with that too.
Yep.
You know, there are people who have done some analysis and stuff to say, when is it good to buy a car versus renting a car? What about buying versus renting that second home? Like buying a home, you know, selling, downsizing, moving out of state, and then renting when you come back as opposed to owning a second property.
You know, this is what we tell people. It's really a financial thing for you. So I don't say, oh gosh, no, you have to buy. You know,
No.
You just have to buy. That's not necessarily the case, because sometimes renting's a good idea for your situation. You know, there is something about quality of life and what you pay for it. And I am one who believes to pay for the quality of life you want is worth it. And if that means just renting and not having the responsibility that gives you peace of mind, I think it's worth it. But with that being said, you have to look at somebody's financial situation.
Or I was just trying to think, and I don't mean to monopolize, so this is more to other people. But, like, you think about, okay, your primary home is out of state now, and you're going to have a condo here. Well, there's all the association fees and all that kind of stuff, and I'm thinking, where are the programs or the advisors who tell you, you know, from an economic point of view, you'd be just as well off to rent for the month you're back as to buy a condo and have the fixed expense of using it only 6 months of the year. But I don't know how to make that comparison.
So
I don't know how to make it apples to apples.
Right. And so that's what we can give you are the resources of people that you talk to.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Help you with
So
that.
we could, like, for us, we could tell you, if you sold your house, this is how much you're going to get. If you needed a realtor in Florida to help you find the right place, I could give you that realtor, and you could go down there with money either you have or from the house to know what you can buy. But now you're saying, do I keep this house and go to Florida, or do I rent something, or do I buy a condo, or do I go to a townhouse? I could do all those numbers for you, right?
Okay.
And then, you know, again, if you needed to bring a loan of any sort into that, Brad can help you with that.
Right.
Is it smarter to, you know, what's the cost if I had to take out $100,000 versus renting, you know, just to get what I wanted? $500, and renting a condo is going to, depending how big it is and where you want it, you know, it could be $1,000, $2,000, whatever. I will tell you this though, association fees in a condo are much, much higher than a townhouse. They just are. They're, sometimes we see them as high as $600, $800 a month.
Mm-hmm. It's quite a bit.
Couple of tips, get a condo that doesn't have a swimming pool unless
Right.
you're gonna swim
Right.
every day, because I live in a condo.
That helps.
with a
Yeah, if you
swimming
don't use
pool.
the pool, you don't want to buy a condo that
Because
has a pool on it.
That's a big expense in a condo.
And a townhouse too, by the way.
Right.
One suggestion may be to rent for a year
And
in a
then,
new location to make
Okay.
sure you like it and like the people there, and then people there will give you tips as to where to buy.
right.
That's a really good idea. We have several friends
I think
that,
that's smart.
Yeah.
I relocated and I turned out, I bought and I didn't like where I relocated and came back, so I speak from
Yeah.
experience.
we have a lot of friends that try every year 3 or 4 different places. They rent. You know, they'll go to Florida, to Sanibel, or they'll go to wherever, Cape Coral or wherever. And they'll try different areas and stay there for a month or however long you want to stay there before they determine what to buy. That's not a bad idea. Yeah, and you can do the vacation rentals
VRBOs.
by owners.
Yep.
The
Oh,
VRBOs,
okay.
yeah. Those are
VRBOs.
really good. We've
Yep.
done them several times and we've never gotten a bad home. So those are managed pretty good too.
Right.
So hopefully that will help you a little bit. And if you need some referrals, we're happy to give you some. We have those.
Are we gonna be able to talk about costs of assisted livings and so forth today?
Yeah.
I wish we could because that's what Barbara's gonna do
Barbara's
too,
gonna
talk
do
about
that
that.
today.
I do know the costs a little bit because we go in and out of them. So tell me your question and I can tell you that we go all over the Twin Cities. I have a guy, I have his resource in there and I wanted to give it to you. His name's Brad Johnson. That's what Brad does. That's all he does, is takes people in and out of communities and he looks at your budget, what you have, he knows what they are. So are you looking at assisted living or independent living?
Not independent living. I'm not looking at anything right now, but
Okay.
I hear it could be $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yep.
want.
So I will tell you, there's pros and cons in the communities. The older ones, obviously because they are older, their fees might be a little bit less, okay? What we find in the older ones, they're a little bit bigger, but they don't have the open concept. So, I mean, you go to newer ones and they tend to be a little bit smaller, but an open concept, the prices will be higher. Independent living, it depends where you go in the Twin Cities. It can vary. We just had somebody that we got into assisted living this last summer or summer before last, I can't remember. And she is to the point, where she can walk with a walker and be in a wheelchair. But she's paying close to $8,000 a month just in assisted living. That's not nursing home. Even though they give her medicine, they do her laundry, they clean her apartment. She gets 2 meals a day. It's $8,000, and it's newer and it's nice. You want to go out to Trillion,
Where's that at?
Whitezetta.
Wayzata,
Oh,
You can go. I think it's a $500,000 entrance fee there.
just to buy into the place.
Something like that. It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
It's gorgeous. So that's the top of the range. So kind of what is your budget and where you can get into. But yes, assisted living can easily be $100,000 a year. We do I don't know if you guys have ever been to it. We do a seminar that's called Do You Have a Plan? And we talk about, that topic itself and about what's available. So going into a community, always knowing how much cash you have out of your house. So if it's $100,000 a year, or if it's $50,000 in independent, right? How long will that money last you? And when it runs out, what do you do? And there's programs out there to help you when you run out of money. Not every community accepts those programs, but many of them do. So to know which ones, and they're nice ones. Presbyterian Homes do. There's quite a few out there that will accept programs when you run out of money.
is there an umbrella like Ebenezer and so forth that you recommend?
They're all, there's, the recommending part of it is for you to go out and look at them because they're all so different. I personally tend to like the newer ones because I like the way the design and the way they're decorated, and their locations are really good. They're pretty centralized, close to, freeways and whatnot to get out. I tend to really like those a lot. That's just my personal preference.
But are
so.
they under the umbrella of Ebenezer or whatever?
Yeah, and you got like the cherry woods, the apple woods, those are Ebenezer.
Yep, they all are, yeah.
They may be called something else.
And do most of them have the independent and the assisted?
The continuum care.
The
is what they're
continuum
looking
care,
at.
a lot of them
If you
do.
live there, you kind of have first chance of going in.
Of moving. Some of them now, and again, you have to check which one. This is why it's so important. Some of them, as you go from independent to assisted to memory care, whatever. Memory care, you usually go into a unit that's kind of a lockdown. I mean, it's still apartments, you still walk around in the newer ones, it's just that floor is locked down so you can't wander off. But to go from independent to assisted, you really don't change your apartment, you just change your services.
Services.
Yeah.
Right.
And the fee also changes. with that.
Yeah.
Brad Johnson, you have his number in there. I give his name to everybody. He is phenomenal. We partner with him when people are looking for communities. This is what he does. He will sit down with you and you can tell him the area you want to be in, kind of what you're looking at, kind of what your finances are, and he will find you that place. That's all he does as a job. He goes in and out of these communities and it costs you nothing. Where he gets his income is the facilities or the communities give him a finder fee for bringing people to them. So he knows all of them throughout the Twin Cities. He's been here and spoke here with us in St. Louis Park. His dad, I believe, is in his 90s, if I'm not mistaken. 80s.
Yep.
And is a veteran and great guy, just a great guy. Hold on to his resources if you want to know more information about where can I go, for what price. I will tell you now that COVID's over, everything was opened up. There were plenty of openings. Now that COVID's coming to an end, things are filling up. Before COVID, there was a 2 to 3 year wait to get into some of these places.
Anyone.
So that's why talking to somebody like Brad, even if you're saying, oh, it's not for 5 years, or it's not for whatever, you know, go out and look so you kind of know, all right, I know where I want to go, I know what the costs are, and you can keep in contact with them so the closer you can get, they can tell you our wait list is 2 years, our wait list is 3 years, so you can say, yeah, I'm about 3 years out, put me on your list.